So today we're going to talk about the use of the all staff communication via email that is used by organizations of all sizes and how much time is getting wasted. So let's back up. Let's do a little history lesson first. First thing to note, so email is invented in 1972, and about 5 seconds later, email lists get created. And we're sitting here today in 2017, and we are still using 45-year-old technology to send out communications to all of our staff. And not surprisingly, it doesn't always go the way that we hoped it would go. In fact, there's pretty much a similar scenario that gets played out over and over across all size organizations when it comes to all staff communications. And it goes a little bit like this. Someone within the organization decides that a really important piece of information must be sent out to all the staff. Later that day, the communication has gone out in the morning. Some staff are sitting in a room together, they're having a meeting, and 2 of the staff have seen it, but a number of others haven't. And so the other ones who haven't seen it say, "What are you guys talking about?" And they say, "Didn't you see the important piece of communication that went out this morning?" And they're like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Well, our super important person from our company sent out this really important piece of information, and you're still not in the know. So that person immediately grabs their phone and they start scrolling through dozens of emails that they've received that day, possibly hundreds depending on how neglected their inbox is, trying to find this piece of important information. Finally say, "When did that go out?" And they say 9:19 a.m. So they're still scrolling, still can't find it. Usually by this point, person without the information gets frustrated and will say something like, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just resend that to me?" And we see this scenario, this time wasting scenario, played out constantly. What happens if you have a dozen employees that's happening to, but what happens when you have thousands? Or what happens if you have tons of clients that need that communication? It's not your fault. You're using technology that was 45 years old. Back then, there was 10 people on an email list? It was pretty easy to find that. And honestly, most of the work was still in paper back then, but not today, not in 2017. That was one of the scenarios that we decided as a company we needed to fix when we were looking at how do we create a way to revolutionize engagement. And so we came up with a solution. It's called the iHub app. It's really, really simple. It goes like this. You can create channels on anything. If you want Mr. Super Important Person to have their own channel, they will actually be able to have their own channel. And if they have topics that are important, you can create channels for those specific topics. And then when you create a post, here's the trick. You can actually publish that one post into all the different channels that it applies to. And anyone who is a member of that channel will immediately get a push notification, and we'll even still send them an email. And at the end of every day, we'll even send them a summary of all the things that they missed that day as it pertains directly to them. But here's what's not going to happen. In that scenario with the colleagues who know and the colleagues who don't know, it would go something like this if they had the iHub app. "Hey, what are you guys talking about? Didn't you see the push notifications?" "No, I had my cell phone turned off today." "Well, it's in your inbox as well." "Oh, okay, well, I don't have time for that. But you know what? I'm just gonna pull up my Inspire Hub app. I'm gonna go to that channel of the topic that I know that's of interest to me, and I don't have to ask where it is. And I already know that I have notifications, multiple places to get a hold of that. And that saves a ton of time."